Well, good morning. Here we are in the lovely village of Bradfield. We're sat on a bench overlooking the valley, and behind us is the old pub. We're just going to do a little history series this morning. It's a bit nippy, but it's quite a nice day.
It's a lovely day. It's a Saturday again, and I can't believe this fantastic weather that we've been having lately. Something to do with some vibrations coming across the Great Ocean,
global freezing,
global
warming,
rubbish, whatever. Yeah. So before we start, we're gonna, like Phil's just said, we're gonna do something completely different today. We're not going on a trek. Believe it or not, we're not going on a walk as such. We're going to do a couple of villages and tell you a wee bit of history about the places that surrounding us where we live. So before we start, again, please like and subscribe to our channel.
Much appreciated if you do. Thank you.
Look back of some of our videos before you do. Subscribe to see if this type of channel is for you.
Yeah.
So let's crack on. Like I said, behind us is an old pub called the Old Horns. If you're ever around these parts, they do nice meals in there, and the beer can be like that, I suppose. It's not brilliant, but the food is lovely. The views up here are absolutely
stunning.
There you go, stunning.
Stunning.
I mean, you can hear the flag fluttering. Yeah, it's one of them. Not so much more about that one. So, just sat on a wee bench. Also here, this beautiful place is one of these for the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, I think it was. Yeah. 2002, 2012. We're going to go over to that wonderful church over there here in Higher Bradfield. Tell you a bit of history about that. Let's go.
It's not until you
Well, 19th century map there of High Bradfield, Bradfield itself. We're going up here to the church and tell you a little bit about that. The front of the Old Horns here in Bradfield. Phil's just on his phone. It's actually got a function room in there as well. So that's a nice quirky thing. You don't usually see many of them. Not a great deal of them.
Nope.
Oh, it's a cold one today.
It is.
These are our cottages here. How nice. Typical little British country cottages. Gorgeous.
Yeah. Behind us we have what is called the guardhouse, which was there to guard the graveyard from grave robbers. So a little bit of fact there for you.
Yeah, beautiful building. Right, we're going in to a very old church. It's actually a mother church of these parts. It's called St Nicholas's, or St Nicholas, yeah, St Nicholas. The original church. Well, let's start from here. The church that stands here now was built in the 1480s. So that is a really old church.
Older than us.
Very old. Part of the church is from the 13th century, so 1200s. It's a Grade 1 listed building, but apparently there was an older building here, which is an Anglo-Saxon place of worship. So it's always been a religious site here on this crest of an hill. And this wonderful church at the back of us of St. Nicholas. Now there's also something nice and special as well at the back of this graveyard, the back of this church. We'll look out for the door. Very beautiful. Oh, sun's coming out. That's nice. Yeah, I was saying at the back of this church there's something even older. So it's a very old ancient site. How beautiful is that? You can really see when you're looking on the church and the stonework that this is really, really old. Yeah. Been to a lot of churches. Let's get some light. Been to a lot of churches in this time, haven't we, Phil?
We have.
Walking around, and
Absolutely.
this is possibly one of the oldest.
Yeah.
If not, no, it's not the oldest.
No, it's not.
Because the one we went on the Yorkshire Way,
That was really.
that was it 11th,
Yeah.
12th century?
Yeah.
So this is very close to that, but this is absolutely stunning. You can tell it, and the stonework is proper weathered because of where it's situated. There's nothing round it.
No.
It's probably the highest point round these parts. But what, I've never been inside this church. Have you ever been inside it, Phil? No. Never been inside this church. But I bet it's absolutely beautiful inside. Let's have a walk around and see if we can see some Commonwealth graves, because there's some in here. And this special site of historical importance. What was that, Phil?
Yeah. Very important, yeah. And it proves that there's a lot of history around this area. Yeah. Beautiful around here.
It's stunning. If you're ever up here, visit this church and just visit the village. This is higher Bradfield. Lower Bradfield we'll go to shortly. There's a little bit of history about what happened here in the 19th century. So we'll get to that shortly. Let's do this first. Right, we're at the very, very, very top of the graveyard here in higher Bradfield,
Yeah.
in St Nicholas's Church, or St Nichol, is it St Nicholas?
Yeah, Nicholas.
Right, in front of me, or which is now going to be behind me, is Braley Hill, something like that, or Braley Beck. The remains of a Mott and Bailey castle here on this site. As you can see, the mound, the Bailey. Apparently the Bailey was still visible, or some of it was still visible in 1819, but obviously that's gone. There is some stone still up there. You possibly can't see it on the camera, but it says it's possibly a medieval castle. I wouldn't really think it was anything else but medieval, to be honest.
It's Mott and Bailey. You know, and you can clearly see, if you look,
Let me spin the camera.
the ditch around the hill.
Yeah. You
There's
can,
a clear, visible.
yeah, as you can
Well-
see down there, and that's obviously the Bailey. And I should imagine at one point it had a bridge or stone connecting to that section. And obviously you can see where the ditch went round the edge of the castle there. But yeah, A lot of people don't know there was actually a castle here in Bradfield, but there you go, there was. We'll have a walk round and see if we can see some Commonwealth graves and any more history for you. You can really see the age of that church now. Really good, beautiful. Silhouette in there, look. And it's sunken down into a ditch, so obviously they dug into the bank inside.
Yeah.
I'd love to see inside it. I would really love to see inside it one day.
Yeah.
See what it's like. Some of that is 12th century. Beautiful. Right, now we're in Lower Bradfield, or Bradfield itself as they call it. This building here, I remember a few years ago one of my dad's friends plays guitar and other instruments, and he did a 24, or was it a 12-hour or 24-hour non-stop play. So he was playing for all that time in this building, which is the village hall here in Bradfield, and he did it for charity. Yeah, Bradfield Village Hall. Put it on that wee sign there. There's also tennis courts and a wee park, but we're not going to the park because there's some bands playing. So Phil's got some interesting things to tell you about Bradfield, so I'm going to hand the camera over to him, and this is his moment to shine, kiddo.
Aye. Well, the earliest settlement is in the Bronze Age on Bradfield Moor, 3 miles northwest of Lower Bradfield. There is a burial site which we've been looking for it quite some time.
Quite a while.
So yes, and there is. So that's 4,000 years ago. So wow, a long time
We
ago.
really need to find that site at some point.
We do. And there is, on the ridge between Bradfield Dale and Ewden Valley, is a bar dyke, a 492 yards long trench and rampart on its southern side, which is 10 feet high in places, and believed to have marked the boundary between different Dark Age tribes in the period following the withdrawal of the Romans from Britain. Wow. The other bit of history, sad history really, is this was the first populated area to be flooded in the Great Sheffield Flood. Just a sec. Dale Dyke Dam burst its wall, bank or whatever, and flooded down from here and down into Sheffield. So this was the first area really to be flooded. And that broke on the 11th of March 1864.
Wow. That must have been awful. That.
Yeah, it must have been.
See, I think in Hillsborough, there's a plaque on a wall
Yeah.
where the water line came to when it flooded, and it's quite high up on this wall, if I recall.
Yeah.
So it must have, I mean, this is, what is it, 3 miles from
Yeah.
3 miles away?
Yeah.
So it must have been horrendous when the water was banging. I think the dam's not far from
It's
here,
up
to be
from the
honest.
west, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's that sort of direction. There's some dams up there. Can you imagine if
A wall of water coming.
all the way down this valley, because it was a valley, straight into Sheffield.
Yeah.
It must have been horrendous to see that water coming, flowing down this valley. I don't know how populated it was going down, but I can imagine it
Yeah.
took quite a few buildings and sadly people.
People, farmland, animals. Yeah, the lot. All gone.
Where we're standing now, just at the side of the village hall, you've got your tennis courts at the back of us. It's also a cricket pitch. It's lovely on a summer's day to come and sit down here. There's benches all around the edge of the field. To sit down here on a summer's day and watch. I mean, I'm not a cricket fan.
No, I'm not
But
either.
just to sit here on a summer's day it is really, really
it
nice.
is.
Then at the far end, which will probably interest me dad more than anybody, is Bradfield Bowling Club.
There you go.
So yeah, there's all sorts. There's a wee shop here.
Yes,
little
there is.
Proper village
Wee shop.
store. I think I might have a venture in that shortly because I'm a bit peckish. And there's a petrol station, and then just down from here there's another dam, which is Dam Flask. We've walked around that. That is a beautiful walk. So
It
if
is.
you do come here, come and see the church further up. Come and sit in here.
There's a lot to see and do.
There's loads to do here. To say it's just a wee village.
Yeah.
There's loads to do, especially on a summer's day. Even a day like this.
Yeah.
You can see the blue skies. It's beautiful. So at the back of me, as you can see, there's the old village store. Now we've just been inside. A wonderful, wonderful customer service. The woman that was in there, spot on, so shout out to you. We've just had a pot of coffee and a sandwich. And absolutely spot on. I could not say any more about that. 100% spot on food in there. So if you're around here and you fancy a bit to eat or a drink, ice cream, whatever, call into that wee store. Beautiful. Right.
Oh, here we are at Midhopestones.
Midhopestones.
Midhop.
Right, Midhop.
If you live here.
Right. The pub at the back of us, which unusually we're not going to frequent for the change. Shock horror. It's an old 18th century farmhouse converted. Originally it was just this bit and then they extended it. It used to just be a small pub, originally called the Club Inn.
Yes.
Which changed its name in 1992 to Midhopestone Arms. And then in 2002 it changed to what it is now, which is a ye-old mustard pot. So this does have a nice pint,
It does.
but the food is not as good as it used to be.
Last landlord was better than this.
Can't say things like that. The road at the side of us is called Mortimer. It runs all the way from the bottom, which is Manchester Road, I think it is. A616. Used to be a toll road. The bridge at the bottom was built in the 18th century. 18th century. So obviously 1700s. We're going to have a walk around this village and tell you a bit of history about it.
Yep. So
Phil,
off we go.
Phil can have another claim to
I
fame.
can.
There you go. The old mustard pot.
Right, we're now on the junction of Mortimer Road and Chapel Lane. Behind me there, that way, behind me, is the old school, which was built in 1732 and closed in about the late 80s. Yeah, because there was no longer the amount of pupils in this area for it. So I think they all transferred to Stocksbridge. So, and above that, above the thing, I'll not show you because it's, well, they're both private residences now, is the schoolhouse where the schoolmaster used to live, which I'll show you at a distance if turn this. Sorry about that. Yeah. The house just behind, just in the distance there, that's the old schoolhouse. So we're going to walk up here towards another interesting building.
That's the old schoolhouse. Not the original one though, because the other one was just a little bit further that direction, which is now in the bottom of the garden. That's the old schoolhouse there. So, a little bit of history about Midhopestones. It derived from the name of, well, it used to be called Nether Midhope originally. The name Midhopestones comes from mid, which obviously means middle, and hop, H-O-P, which means enclosed, or what do you say, enclosed? Dry area. And the stones part of it, which seems to get dropped off quite a lot, to be honest. A lot of just call it Midhope. The stones comes from the old stepping stones, which is now under the Underbank Reservoir. I think I said that correctly. And apparently when it's a very low tide, what am I talking about, tide? When it's a very low, high tide and low tide. When it's very low, apparently the stones are still visible under the Underbank Reservoir. I still struggle saying that word. Yeah, so that's the Midhopestones. So that's where the name comes from. But originally it was called Nether Midhope. So we're going to have a walk up here, Chapel Lane, and look at another really old building. He's talking to his chickens.
Yes, talking to my uncle's chickens.
It's his uncle's chickens. One escaped. Now we're going to have a look at something that is really old.
Yes.
In fact,
and this isn't me.
And it's not Phil. St James's here at Midhope, and it says the Diocese of Wakefield. We're nowhere near Wakefield.
No.
But we are at another old church. Take a look at that wee chapel. Yeah? Some people's got front rooms bigger than that.
Yeah.
Apparently, if I'm going to let Phil tell you about this.
Yes, apparently, according to legend, is the 12th century. So, yeah, it's quite old. There's a lot of grave stones. Trouble, even with 1821, some of these, 1707, another one. But yes,
I should imagine that the original.
Yeah.
I should imagine that the original chapel here was the 12th century.
Yeah.
But above the doorway here, it says 1704.
Oops, let me.
I can even reach that. Must be small. 1704. So that still makes this old.
Yeah.
Even looking at this doorway, that could possibly. I can't see that being original, but you never know.
You never know.
Look at it. It's
A
old.
little bit of wood, that. Yeah. So.
We bell tower.
Bell tower up there. Yeah. It's a lovely wee chapel. Not much bigger than a cottage, really.
It's not.
So.
But I suppose the place doesn't warrant it to be any bigger.
No, I mean it's a quite small village. Not many houses, mainly farming and that type of thing around here.
The earliest date that is recorded that we know of for the entire village is the 12th century, so
Yeah.
that's 1100s.
Yeah.
So there will have been possibly a religious site here anyway,
Yes.
even though this is possibly not the original
Building.
religious building on this site. Because it just says 1704, that's possibly when this was rebuilt.
Yeah.
But that still makes it old.
It does.
I mean, that's during the Jacobite rebellions and everything, so it's quite old. But I should imagine that there would have been another church or
Yes.
chapel
or some kind of
religious site
Yeah.
on this place,
Yeah.
dating back to the 13th, 12th, 13th century.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because they always used to use, when they used to rebuild them, they always used to use the same sites, especially Normans
Yeah,
to
'cause
Saxons.
It was is it what's the word for it? Ground.
Sacred ground,
Sacred ground.
because
yeah.
it was already consecrated.
Consecrated ground, that's it. That's what I was looking.
Consecrated.
Yeah.
And that's another wee chapel I've never been in.
No.
Like I said before though, I'm not religious in any shape or form. I just love these buildings as structures and buildings. I like looking in at a castle or an old house.
Yeah.
But how beautiful is that wee chapel?
And that's things that you usually find that the religious part is probably the oldest part of it at the time. Because religion's been used as a thing of control for many a year. So you often find that the oldest buildings in an area are the churches.
Yeah. We're not trying to upset anybody
No,
on
no.
that statement. I understand what Phil's trying to say on that one.
Yeah.
That the church was the focal point of any village or
Yeah.
any settlement. Not so much these days, obviously, because science has taken over a lot of that thought.
And people can think.
People can think for themselves rather than being controlled by the church. So we're not trying to upset anybody on them statements.
But
That is how it used to be. Is the church controlled? There was two people who controlled the whole country, not just in this country, especially places like Spain and France.
Yeah.
Very, very, very controlled by two people. Or two.
Local government and the church.
Well, yeah. Talking about days gone old.
Yeah.
Was the king
Oh, yeah.
and the church. One couldn't rule without the other. Obviously them days have passed and people know more about science and evolution and things, because it's a wider world than it used to be. But apart from, we're not getting into politics, we're not getting into religion, so that's all I'm going to say on that subject. But like we said, the church was the focal point of all villages and all life, really. So I don't think there's much more. I think there was an old pottery here as well that dates back to the 12th century or 13th century. I don't know whereabouts that building used to be. Maybe somebody can drop us a comment in the comments below and let us know where that was. But that's it. So Bradfield, Higher Bradfield, Low Bradfield and Midhope, two beautiful wee villages roundabouts from where we live.
Yep.
So
lots of history, a lot of, you know.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. We do love it. It's such a wonderful place as history is concerned, and scenery, and amazing places to go out and get a stroll and do a walk. So I'm going to leave this video here today.
yeah.
We was going to go over to Penistone, but
Penistone quite big. It's a video in itself.
yeah,
really.
Penistone's a video in itself. It's a big place, bigger, a lot bigger than these two put together. It's classed as a wee town, just not south of Barnsley there. So I'm going to leave this one here, like I said. So please like and subscribe to our channel.
Yep.
Share the videos on Facebook, and please comment.
Yep. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much for watching. So until next time, Jay out.
Fill out. Keep trekking.
Keep safe.